court advantage this weekend with conference play starting. It could be huge, especially when it says Smith Center on it in the Dean Dome, where Roy Williams has only lost 3 times in 3 years. And when you come into this building, everything from foot to ceiling is Carolina blue. And you look to the rafters, and there are 32 first-team All-American jerseys, 11 ACC Players of the Year, 9 National Players of the Year. It can be a very intimidating sight. For the 207th time, it's the Wolfpack of North Carolina State and the Tar Heels of North Carolina here in Chapel Hill. Welcome, everybody. I'm Brad Nessler with Len Elmore. And for only the second time, Lenny, in the last 31 years, NC State comes into this game ranked higher than North Carolina.
Well, they come into this game with a definite edge, and that's an experience. You know, we've got 3 seniors, a junior in their rotation. This is a team that's been through the battles of conference play. They're playing tremendous defense at 12-1. They know how to win. On the other side, Carolina, 4 of their top 6 scorers are freshmen. Their leading guys are guys who were role players last year. But you can't argue with the record. 8-2, they're ranked. Fortunately, games alone are not won by experience alone.
Let's take a look at our Star Watch youth there, no matter which side you're looking at.
That's right. Youth is serving inside. Cedric Simmons, tremendous inside, particularly on the defensive end where he's highly ranked in shot blocking. And Tyler Hansbrough, 3-time ACC Freshman of the Week, 2nd in the ACC in field goal percentage. He has not disappointed.
Here's the starting lineups for Herb Sendek. It's Atsur, Bethel, Bennerman, Eftemoff, and Simmons, who Len just talked about for North Carolina. 3 freshmen in there, Fraser, Ginyard, and Hansbrough, along with Terry and Noel. Noel, the most experienced guy, and he averaged less than 4 points a game last year. This game available on ESPN2 and HD, presented by DLP Picture Technology. As I mentioned, 206 times they've gotten together. Carolina has the edge, 132-74, and they've won 20 of the last 28. Jamie Luck, Mike Wood, and Carl Hess, who's got it in hand, and we're underway in Chapel Hill. And the Wolfpack will get the first crack at it.
Carolina starts out man-to-man. NC State will play the type of offense that will surely test your ability to play man-to-man defense and also help. A lot of high movement, a lot of guys going to the basket on backdoor situations, and of course the three-pointer.
And the three-pointer goes immediately. Just after Bennerman missed on a jam, the ball came free, and Eftemoff with his 29th three-pointer of the year.
You know, we talked about Carolina and having such a young squad out there with a lack of experience, but they don't lack in talent, particularly Tyler Hansbrough. You wonder if he or David Noel inside would be the first option initially, trying to get State in foul trouble.
Here is Hansbrough on the baseline. To the freshman point guard, Fraser, who's done a nice job and assists, and he's going to take the jumper off the front of the iron, and Eftemoff has the rebound.
Tony Bethel got a hand on that shot. The State continues with their man-to-man, and now Carolina stays with theirs.
Simmons trying to spin inside. There's our Star Watch, one against the other, and a good-looking hook shot.
Well, Cedric Simmons averaged 11 points in the last 3 games, shooting a very high percentage. He only averaged 3.5 points last year, so he is tremendously improved as the leading scorer for NC State.
And that's an over and back because it was off Rayshon Terry. He was hoping that they were going to call it off NC State.
See, this is where the spread offense helps. Look how much room Simmons has to work without the double team. It's just Simmons and Hansbrough, and Simmons got the better of it that possession.
Well, when they shut you off from the outside, if they try to take away the three-pointers, of which NC State has 121 already this year, Simmons is a guy that can work inside on you, as he did there. So a 5-0 early lead for the Wolfpack.
Again, look at the patience NC State will exhibit. They are averaging about 77 points a game, but they're going to work till they get the best possible shot.
Herb Sendek in his 10th season. And he is 3rd longest in ACC tenure.
Isn't that amazing?
It sure is. I mean, you think about it. You think about how many people over the years have said that he didn't have a good enough team to be here 10 years. Well, he's gone to 4 straight NCAAs, and he's got a 5-point lead on the road, but they did turn it over for the first time. Hansbrough on the outside. Rebound. Comes off to Bethel. Nice hustle defensively to break that up. Roy Williams coming off a national championship season, one of 11 coaches to lead his alma mater to a title last year. The win over Illinois on a 33-4 year, 18th season as head coach.
And that time, that last play, you can see that the NC State plan is to really work Hansbrough. get the ball inside to Simmons in the half court, and when the opportunity presents itself, Simmons is going to run the floor, forcing Hansbrough to follow him, and that wears a big man down if he's not accustomed to it.
Simmons out on the high post. See if they try to find a backdoor cut. Bethel's going to bring it back out on top, and 8 on the shot clock. Look for a pick, and nice defense by Ginyard to stay with him. He might get a second chance. That ball touched the rim, so they go for 3 on the outside. Simmons with a third chance with 3 Tar Heels around him, and he's fouled.
Well, you talk about perseverance. NC State shot clock running down. Nice job by Bethel to create off the bounce. And then he gets a fortuitous bounce off the rim to come back to him and finds open shooters. But Cedric Simmons, we talked about him before, only 10 minutes a game last year. This year, obviously his years, you take a look at those numbers across the line. Not only has he shown that he's formidable inside on the offensive end, but you saw 3 blocks a game. When you're out there and you're pressuring, you know that there's an eraser back there. You know, you really feel good about yourself denying people out there on the wings.
Number 2 shot blocker in the conference. And he's got 4 of NC State's early 7. 7-0 opening for NC State. And it might be more. It will be. On a break. Whoa. And a slam by Bennerman as he took off from about the free throw line.
Boy, Cameron Bennerman, the most athletic player on an NC State team. He's got a few highlight reels in him.
And Carolina turns it over again. 9-0 Wolfpack. Roy Williams might be thinking about a timeout if he can get a stoppage in play here. The young Tar Heels being overwhelmed. There's the backdoor cut, and there's going to be a foul on Rayshon Terry.
Yeah, you talk about Roy Williams. They beat Davidson in their last game, at least by score, relatively handily, but Roy Williams wasn't happy with that game. Talked about a lot of mental errors, a lot of errors on the defensive end. And this is why, because he knew that was the last tune-up before ACC play, where making mistakes is unforgiving.
Well, they had 20 turnovers in that one, and they can't do that against this NC State team. They'll be in a heap of trouble as Atsuer just added to the pain, and it is 11-0.
And Brad, the NC State shots are just coming so easily.
Inside, hook off the glass. The tip won't go. Simmons the rebound. And NC State with an 11-0 run to open in the first 3.5 minutes of this ball game. So much for home court advantage, at least early. NC State going for 3.
That's the first bad shot taken in the series of possessions by NC State. Eftimov just a little bit too anxious with that 3.
Here's Danny Green double teams.
And that's the pressure you want to apply to a young team. You want to make them think about it. And the first guy that they double up is a freshman.
Knocked out of bounds by Atsuer. Brackman's going to come into the lineup for North Carolina State, and Eftimov will get a breather.
Well,
4 minutes in, 11-0.
Pretty good to come off the bench with a guy like Andrew Brackman, averaging about 10 points. He's had 3 consecutive double-figure games.
Carolina finally scores, and it's a 3 by Marcus Ginyard, their freshman. Got to get back on defense. Rebound. Stolen away by Carolina. Got a man in the open court. It's Noel. Goodbye.
Talking about a little highlight film action there. David Noel, emphatic, and got this crowd into it. The mistake NC State has made is that they hasten the pace.
And now Frazier is hammered. Mike Wood taking a look at whether or not he was going for the ball and has a good look to make sure there's no confrontation between the players. And definitely a way to get the home court advantage back in your favor, just like this. David Noel with a windmill throwdown. 11-5 early. Wolfpack.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Pontiac, official performance machines of the NCAA, and TD Waterhouse, the alternative to higher-priced brokers.
Carolina a chance to cut into the 6-point North Carolina State lead. Some shoddy shooting and a couple of turnovers, and then on the break here, nice play by Bennerman. Really, that's all ball.
That's right, clean play. And Bennerman, as he goes to the corner, watch the official turn and kind of stare at him to see if he's got a reaction.
Mike Wood looks like a sumo wrestler there as Bennerman turns around and he sits. And he's upset that there was a foul call as Frazier's going to go to the free throw line.
Well, when you make a spectacular block like that and you get called for a foul, obviously the emotion is going to rise in you. I'm not sure I like the official staring at him, almost waiting for him to say something. On the other hand, you give Bennerman some credit for his restraint.
We don't quite know what Bennerman may have said when he pointed his finger as well at the official.
But the staring occurred before he even turned around.
Yeah, Frazier, this is only his 9th free throw attempt of the season, and he has hit 6 of them. I beg your pardon, 7 of them. So they cut into the lead further.
And here's Carolina with their three-quarter pressure as well. And again, this is where the experience counts. Bethel, a senior. Atzer, a junior who's logged a lot of minutes. The bottom line is NC State played into Carolina's hands early, last couple of possessions with quick shots.
Here's a runner off the glass by Atzer, his second basket. And that snaps a 7-0 Carolina run after North Carolina State opened the game 11-0.
And Herb Sendek has said it before that the thing he likes about this team is their demeanor. The fact that they will come back calmly after a team makes a run and answer.
Noel, maybe not the best shot in the world. Pass trying to get it inside to Simmons. Tipped out of bounds by Carolina. And North Carolina, Roy Williams will go to his bench now. Frazier and Ginyard will go out. And Miller and Quentin Thomas will come in. Bannerman back in the lineup for North Carolina State.
Look at Quentin Thomas guarding Injun Atzer. Atzer probably the most dangerous player on the perimeter for this NC State team. And look at the passing outside, the spread floor situation.
Gavin Grant works for a jumper from the elbow, off the mark, and Sanders the rebound. Here comes Thomas.
Quentin Thomas recovering from a stress fracture in his left foot. He's the guy that everybody expected to be the starter on this team, but he lost time with the injury. Bobby Frazier has come in and done a heck of a job, third in the ACC in assists. So Thomas is relegated to coming off the bench, which actually is not bad for Carolina. A guy with some experience coming in. He's at least an even match coming off the bench, although not offensive-minded, but neither is Frazier.
Down low, nice feed underneath. Hansbrough goes up, and he's fouled. They're going to call this one on Atzer. That'll be his first. We mentioned the series history. The last win for NC State was in 03 here in February, and Carolina has won 20 of the last 28. We mentioned in the open, not very often that North Carolina State would be ranked ahead of North Carolina coming into this. Only the second time in 31 years. For NC State, though, this is their best start in 17 years, off to a 12-1 open to the season. Hansbrough got them both. His first 2 points. He's coming off a season and career high 23 in that win over Davidson the other night, and his 2 free throws has made it a 4-point game.
And again, there's the pressure applied by Thomas on Atzer, who's the guy that makes this team go. He can shoot the ball, tremendous assist man.
Thinking about a 3 was Eftimov. Back out on top. Nice job defensively by the Tar Heels.
Look at the switches off the screen. It slows down the ball handler who can't turn the corner.
Deep 3. Not a good shot, but the shot clock was winding down. Bennerman had to put it up there. Back inside. Hansbrough can make it a 2-point game. He dishes to Sanders instead. Good look by Hansbrough.
And that's something Hansbrough certainly has mastered, knowing he's going to get doubled. He's starting to look for his teammates, and that just makes him that much more effective.
2-point ball game. It was 11-0 NC State at the beginning of the game.
Nice move, strong move. You got to finish.
Grant didn't finish, and now he's fouled by Green.
That move by Grant was almost too strong, but he did a nice job of drop stepping, getting shoulders, head and shoulders past the defender. He just flat out blew the first layup.
And he'll go to the free throw line. Gavin Grant, 6'7" sophomore out of the Bronx. Been in the United States since 1994, but he's got a court date set in April at the Immigration Court in Atlanta as he continues to play with the team here and averaging about 9 points a ball game. Noel comes back in. Noel, since he went on this break, Carolina has been on a 9-3 push.
And, you know, again, us old schoolers, we say in an open floor situation, you know, what's the difference between a dunk or just a layup? But I guarantee,
the crowd up.
Right, a layup is not going to wake the crowd up or your teammates up as much as something spectacular like that dunk.
And now he's hit as he heads to the hoop by Eftimov, who picks up the foul. David Noel out of Durham. I think if you'd have told him a couple of years ago that he'd be the guy with the most experience on the 2005-2006 Tar Heel team, he would have said, "You mean all my buddies went to the NBA, or you're crazy?" That would have been one of those two comments.
Well, his boys kind of left him.
Yeah, he did. That's what I was getting at. 4 of them were lottery choices.
That's right. They made a pact before last season that they were going to stick around, all of them, and see this thing through till they were seniors. But
I'm sure some of them are watching today, but the top 7 guys scoring-wise from a year ago are gone. This is the only guy in the top 8 that's back, and he hits the outside jumper right on cue.
It's like the call of the wild, the call of the dollar. You got to go.
13-4 run by Carolina. Wolfpack almost turned it over again.
But right now, NC State, as opposed to the first 2 minutes of this game, sorely out of sync right now. No rhythm whatsoever. And it was caused by a couple of quick shots, a couple of guys feeling too prosperous instead of working their show, and they got Carolina back into the ball game because those quick shots turned into fast breaks.
Veneman with a quick move, and Thomas fouled him. Stops the clock, 12:21 remaining in the first half. Atzur will come back in, so will Simmons, and Brackman and Grant go out. There's the never happened in the history of the ACC. Top 7 guys gone. And you can go right down the list naming who they were, and most guys remember them because it was a national championship team from Jackie Manuel, Jawad Williams, and Marvin Williams, and Raymond Felton, Rashad McCants, Sean May, Melvin Scott, all gone. But now these young guys in here are hanging tough. Hansbrough couldn't get that one in close. That would have tied the game.
Well, that was a nice defensive job by Simmons.
Now it's Noel. One man to beat. He's going to hold up, kick it outside. Miller for the lead. Got it!
Well, that's the danger of a Wes Miller. In a fast break situation, you guard in the paint, but you forget about him.
NC State misses a 3. Hansbrough the rebound. What a turnaround. Carolina gives it right back. And on the ball possession, it is going to be to North Carolina. 16-15 North Carolina. Don't forget, during the course of the season, our Family Network showcases a great basketball moment from all Division I schools. Our countdown from A to Z will bring us up to our ESPN's Pride of the Program. It's coming up next. Carolina on a 16-4 run. They lead NC State by 1. And time now for ESPNU's Pride of the Program. Tonight in the spotlight is George Mason. The Patriots were in desperate need of a leader. They found one in Kenny Sanders. The George Mason forward scored 19 points and collected 19 boards in the Colonial Athletic Association title game as George Mason captured its first ever NCAA tournament bid. Great double-double that was, 19-19. More Pride of the Program features available on mobile ESPN. North Carolina started 0 for 3, 5 for 7 since. They've come up with some key turnovers. They've turned the crowd into, obviously, the home court advantage, and they lead 16-15. Brad Nessler, Len Elmore, and our ESPN2 crew in Chapel Hill at the Dean Smith Center. Terry off the inbounds play. In and out, had an open look, just wouldn't drop. NC State now has gone almost 4 minutes without a basket. 15:07 was the last time they scored. And here's a quick hand check foul on Quentin Thomas.
And that's amazing considering how hot they started. And again, they came back primarily because of Roy Williams getting on his team and some quick shots by NC State. And that dunk was the exclamation point by David Noel. And then he was in the middle of just about every bucket on the comeback.
Miller with the 3 that gave him the lead. And now Bannerman It's his second field goal. His shot selection might have not been the greatest, but he'll take that one to give NC State the lead back.
Again, we talk about his athleticism. If he gets it in the paint, he can elevate over the defenders.
Thomas, outside jumper off the mark. Rebound comes off to Atsua. He's going to wait for help.
Smart decision right there. Could have tried to beat his man, but he didn't have numbers. Pulls it back out. And again, force Carolina. It takes a lot of energy to make comebacks. Force them to play some defense with this spread floor. Don't be too quick with your shots.
Simmons finally gets his hand on it. He was the big man early for NC State. On the outside, he looked to the backdoor cut. That was cut off by Wes Miller. Here's 5 on the shot clock as the 3 en route from Atsua, and the rebound is Quentin Thomas. Hansbrough underneath, off the glass.
Now, you know what Hansbrough did on that one as opposed to a couple of other possessions? A couple of other possessions, he tried to get the ball and make a move from a stationary spot. This time, he put it on the floor and he made the defender move. If you want to get particularly shot blockers in trouble, get them on the move, put it on the floor, go someplace.
Doesn't play like a freshman, does it? And almost comes up. He did come up with a huge defensive play. Just when we were talking about him on the offensive end, he does it on the defensive end.
Again, offensively, you know that Simmons is a good shot blocker. Nice pass to find him, and then you put it on the floor. Don't settle for just a jump shot. You got the ability to put pressure on the defense, you do it.
I'll tell you what, 3 times Rookie of the Week. It'll be a lot more times before the season is over, and I bet you his coach, Roy Williams, enjoyed the defensive play he just made even more. In fact, his coach gave him a high five on the way by the bench. Here's Noel underneath, scoring. 6 for Noel. And now the lead is Carolina by 3. Past the midway point of the first half. Carolina even with the Wolfpack. Points in the paint. Frazier the rebound off the NC State miss. Their shots selection has not been as good as it was early.
But the effort is there. You see a couple of good saves, one by Hansbrough on the defensive end, that one by Frazier to get an extra shot.
And Hansbrough, the extra hustle again, as it looked like Simmons was going to have control of the ball, and he knocked it off Simmons and out of bounds for Carolina. Sanders checks back in. Hansbrough gets a standing O from the crowd over there. It's home court advantage. Big Monday on ESPN and ESPN2. 3 great games starting at 7 Eastern. Cincinnati and UConn. Texas and Iowa State in the Big 12. And then Gonzaga with that 30-game home winning streak. And the nation's top scorer will be in action later on Monday night.
Boy, it'll be interesting to see if Connecticut can rebound from that pasting at Marquette.
What a look underneath to Sanders by Noel. Now it's a 5-point Carolina advantage. Talked about North Carolina State using the extra pass. It's North Carolina beating NC State at their own game right now. The jump ball possession arrow will stay with the Wolfpack. (22-17). North Carolina trailed by 11. Now they lead by 5.
And when Carolina extends their defense, they've really made it difficult on NC State to run their stuff. There's a lot of switching going on, a lot of interchangeable parts, and it's made it difficult to defend.
Sanders picks up the foul. That's his first. With 8 minutes and 18 seconds remaining in the first half. The 3-point field goals for State. They came in with 120. They hit their first one, and they haven't hit one since. And now whistle and foul again. It's going to be on Frazier. It'll be his second.
Now NC State, once again, you see the turning of the head. He's facing the ball the wrong way, and there's the cutter down the lane. You got to jump to the ball when the ball is passed. And that time, Cedric Simmons, not accustomed to playing on the perimeter, turns the wrong way, takes his eye off his man, and beautifully delivered backdoor pass. And those are some of the breakdowns NC State is suffering on the defensive end. To complicate matters on the offensive end, they're out of rhythm because Carolina's extended their defense and contesting a lot of the passes.
State in the bonus. Atsua hit his first. He's a 74% free throw shooter and got them both. He's got 6 points. And that gets the Wolfpack back to within 3. Noel's got an open jumper. Got it for 3.
And that was a rhythm shot right there. Not even a thought about it. Just catch and shoot. And that shows you David Noel's come a long way from being a role player whose job was to move the ball and get people involved in the flow to being a feature player who doesn't have to think about shooting it. If the open shot is there, you take it.
Remember, he's the only guy on the entire roster for Carolina that scored in the national championship game last year. And he's off to a great start here today with 9 points already. Green got his man up in the air. Baseline jumper was a good look. Just couldn't get it to drop, and that's her with a rebound.
And again, a nice move by Danny Green. As you mentioned, couldn't get it to drop. But every little ball fake NC State's going for.
He just paid him back for it, I'll tell you that. He just tied up Atsu and gave the ball back to Carolina. North Carolina on a little bit of a high right now, leading by 6. They've had some highs and lows this season. They've only lost once at home this year. They're hoping not to today. North Carolina on a high right now, leading, and their biggest high in non-conference play was a win over Kentucky on the road. David Noel, 15 points, 9 rebounds. First road win against a top 10 team since 1990. Lows, though, there have been some of those, too, against Southern California, their West Coast trip. Second half, they were abysmal from the field. 25% from the floor. They are outscored by 20 in the second half, and that was one of only 2 losses suffered all year. The only other loss was to Illinois here at Chapel Hill by 4, and there's nothing wrong with that. So highs and lows, and right now trying to win their 133rd time against NC State in the last 93 years. And though they started off in an 11-0 hole, they lead by 6 now, 25-19.
And at least at this juncture, this is one of those highs for Roy Williams. But you talk about the USC game, they had a 5-point lead, Carolina did, but 25 turnovers throughout the game. Some bad decisions lost them that game, and that's what you get with a young team.
And just on cue, they turn it over there when it looked like they were going to have an easy shot under the basket. So the Wolfpack with Eftimov trying to back in on Noel. Going to try a hook shot. Rebound off to Danny Green, who's done a nice job since he came off the Carolina bench. Green, a freshman as well.
That's a good look by Eftimov, and I like the idea of the hook shot. It's coming back, but young people today haven't perfected it yet.
That's for sure. Here's Green working the baseline, has to give it up. Frazier's got a long 3. And a whistle and a push on the rebound. Home court advantage Super Tuesday on ESPN and ESPN2 as well, 7:30 Eastern. It'll be North Carolina and Virginia Tech. Lenny will be there at 9 Eastern. I'll be at Rupp Arena. Kentucky takes on Vanderbilt. Super Tuesday presented by Lexus in part of Home Court Advantage on ESPN and ESPN2 this Tuesday nights.
What, are they splitting us up now?
I guess so. I'm going one way, you're going the other. And Rupp Arena, they win 90% of the time there. They don't lose often. Of course, we talked about Carolina beating them earlier this season there. Whistle, foul underneath. Hansbrough's going to get a trip to the free throw line.
Well, with Simmons out of the ball game, you know, Brackman is going to be the guy relied upon in a man-to-man situation. Maybe Eftimov to stop Hansbrough. Both of them not accustomed to playing people down low. And this is where Carolina recognizes it's time to make a little hay. Well, Simmons is out.
Here's the leading scorer and rebounder among freshmen in the Atlantic Coast Conference. 6'9", 235-pound Tyler Hansbrough out of Poplar Bluff, Missouri. About 3 hours south of St. Louis. And he's got 6 points on the day, and he gives his team their biggest advantage of the afternoon, up by 8. Here's Brackman on the baseline. Over Hansbrough, and a chance for a 3-point play. Good-looking shot by Brackman, the 6'10 sophomore.
I said Brackman not accustomed to guarding people down low, but he's certainly accustomed to taking people. See the little drop step right there? The pump fake, which surprises me because Hansbrough is not a shot blocker. Usually it's shot blockers you can get off your feet. Hansbrough's better served by just keeping his hands straight up, forcing Brackman to shoot over him. But Brackman got him in the air and made a nice, strong move to the basket.
That's a big 3-point play. And North Carolina turns it over. Brackman, a dual sport athlete as well, plays on the baseball team for the Wolfpack, right-handed pitcher, and a big one Obviously, at 6'10", he can bring the heat. 43 strikeouts in 43 innings. He was 4-0 for the Wolfpack. You think about big pitchers, a guy that's 6'10", and you would think of the big unit, Randy Johnson. And he's done a nice job off the bench, averaging 11 points off the NC State bench. Here he is on the drive. Takes it strong. Wow. 5 straight points for Brackman, that one with authority. 27-24.
It's almost as good as a K to end the inning.
I'd say so. I don't know if it's a save yet, but he's got him back in the middle innings here. Miller almost had an open 3. He's a good 3-point shooter. Hansbrough goes baseline on the turn. Airballed it. Eftimov pulls it off the backside. NC State can make it a 1-point game if they score. Brackman may have gotten away with a traveling call. That certainly is what the fans were thinking here.
You take a look at Andrew Brackman, off-season conditioning, put on about 30 or more pounds, and that gives you a lot of confidence because you know you're stronger, you know your vertical is probably better. And when you start feeling it, that blood starts flowing through those veins.
There's what we're talking about. Big pitcher and yet built about exactly like Tom Gugliotta, who played for North Carolina State and was a great one. Now, he gets a breather. That's the one thing about putting 30 pounds on us. He's not going to play 30 minutes a ball game probably, at least not at this stage of the season. He's still kind of working himself into that new body.
But if you can give me 25 effective minutes, I'll take that every time.
Simmons picks up the foul. That's his first. And it will send Rayshon Terry to the free throw line. Rayshon Terry hasn't scored yet. When he's in double figures, North Carolina doesn't lose. And when he's not, they're 0-2. And he has got his first point right there.
And that's the key barometer. Rayshon Terry, the guy who gives them perimeter play and has the ability to post up smaller guards. You know, they've got to get him involved in the offense. I don't think, besides Hansbrough, the other freshmen are not really capable of carrying the offensive load. You know, you got Noel, you got Hansbrough, but you need that reliable third scorer.
He hasn't touched it nearly enough tonight. These 2 free throws makes it a 5-point Carolina lead with just under 5 minutes to go in the half. Almost an over and back right in front of us by Eftimov, whose foot slipped a little bit.
And instead of the man-to-man press, that time Carolina employed the zone pressure, trying to change the look. And State, with the experience, broke it very easily.
And as Simmons made his move to the hole, Sanders fouled him, his second. And that'll put Cedric Simmons at the free throw line. Tony Bethel will check back in, and Atsur gets a breather. Tony Bethel had all kinds of health problems last year, including that groin tear in the ACC tournament that effectively took him out of the rest of the year. Simmons, 4 points, missed the free throw, and Carolina touched it last. Thomas had a hand on it and lost it, so they're going to get a free possession here with 4:37 left in the half. Only been 1 missed free throw, and that was the one we just saw by either team.
Time and score situation, out of bounds. NC State ought to be very patient, get the best possible shot, not waste their possession.
That's a good pass, and that's a good possession.
And this is how you come back or how you build leads. You got to be methodical. And then, of course, State's got to string together a couple of stops. You see the double there, looking to force the turnover.
Nice job by Bennerman on the baseline to cut off Sanders. And Carolina throws it away. And here's Bethel on a break. His first basket. North Carolina's turnover cost them the easy bucket, and that's a 1-point game.
And look at State jumping out, creating turnovers. Eftimov couldn't save it that time, but Thomas really flustered behind the screen as State continues to jump out and block his pass.
Terry's wide open for 3. Got it. Rayshon Terry's first field goal of the afternoon. Carolina by 4. We're at 3.5 minutes. Fast-paced ball game, time-wise, that is. Grant drives all the way around, and he's going to be called for the foul. opportunity goes awry for Herb Sendek's NC State Wolfpack. Carolina at home, leading by 4.
Dave Revson in the studio with Tom Brennan and Doug Gottlieb. Coming up at the half, some NFL draft news and a real stunner, certainly the margin of defeat, a stunner in Lawrence. Thoughts on the first half, guys?
Well, 4 for 7 for the Cats, for the Tar Heels from three-point land. That's a big edge for them.
You know, David Noel is the only guy with experience, and he's playing like he's got 9 early points. They got to kind of hold it together offensively. Turn the ball over a little bit late. You got to lead, maintain that lead going into the half.
More from these guys at halftime, plus an unbeaten in some real trouble. We'll tell you about that, Brad.
All right, fellas, we'll see you in about 3 minutes, 18 seconds. That's what we've got remaining here. North Carolina trailed 11-0 early. They lead 32-28 now over North Carolina State. And Carolina has 10 baskets. They have 9 assists on the ball game. So the extra pass and the good passes are paying off for them here in the first half. Turnovers have been a little bit of a problem, but not nearly as bad as what they have against Davidson, their last outing. Without Julius Hodge, a lot of folks think this is a better NC State team. They are 12-1, and you never really know who's going to score, because when you have a star sometimes, Len, he tends to get sometimes overused, and the other guys just sort of stand around and watch him play.
Well, you got to use stars judiciously. This still is a team game, and you want to make sure that everybody's a threat. But down in crunch time, you got to find a guy that you can go to. NC State has a number of them, but none of them are maybe as reliable,
right,
if you will. And they're going to be tested throughout this season. Another test is whether or not they can continue to guard the perimeter as well. They came into this game keeping people at about 28% from beyond the arc. Carolina is 4 of 6 from beyond the arc, almost 67%.
There you see the balance of NC State without a superstar. 4 guys in double figures, and the other one's knocking on the door, and Andrew Brackman, who has 5 points in this first half, so he's halfway to that 9.6 per ball game. Three-pointer goes on the outside for Bethel. His 19th of the year, and NC State's back to within 1.
And this game for NC State, considering their defensive numbers, this isn't about their offense. This is about their defense right now, whether they can tighten up.
They have the last couple trips down court. In fact, they forced the possession arrow to go in their favor to get a three-pointer.
Nice split there by Frazier. Nice job.
But he threw it away.
Bounce pass would have served well.
All the way, NC State with an opportunity there, and Bethel missed the layup.
Bethel too concerned with the defender trying to make contact instead of going to the basket.
Under 2 minutes now. North Carolina's lead has been cut to 1. Now it's 3 again. Great look down low from Noel.
And you talk about defense, big mistake, uncharacteristic mistake by Atzer, who reached for the ball, and that delayed him in following the cutter, Noel.
So Noel, who's the leading scorer for Carolina, has 4 assists as well. Bethel's got a heat check going, and he knocks down his second 3 in a row.
That makes up for the missed layup.
34-34, first tie of the ball game. Green around a pick. He'll try a 3. Simmons will snatch it out of there with 1 minute and 16 seconds remaining in the half. Atzer on the baseline with a fadeaway. And nobody home but white jerseys, and Hansbrough with a rebound.
And that's not Atzer's game, taking people off the bounce.
Whoa! Offensive foul on Ginyard, who went flying in there and scored, but you can wipe it off.
Well, Marcus Ginyard, probably the best athlete of the freshmen. And again, he's not necessarily out there to score. Excellent job there. The defender did have the position out away from the basket. So Eftimov does a nice job of drawing. And it couldn't come at a more opportune time for NC State.
Hey, partner, if our second 20 minutes is as good as the first 19, this is going to be fun this afternoon.
Hey, we're in conference play, Brad. You know what that's about.
The cut to the basket, the perfect pass from Simmons, and Bethel scores 3 straight baskets for NC State, and they're back in front.
And can you tell, again, NC State has gotten that rhythm back?
Yep.
There was a stretch in midway through that first 20 minutes where they didn't know what they were doing.
Ball is knocked away by North Carolina State, and they might have a foul inside, as a matter of fact. Simmons is going to be called for a foul.
Well, you take a look right there, just the backdoor situations, and you're going to have other people going. The key guy is the passer right there. He's the guy that's got to find, and then obviously you see Bethel cutting through, but I just showed Atzer with his cut through. That's what clears everything out. And when Simmons has the ability to take a look and ball fake, then the next guy can go back door, which Bethel did, and you bounce past it to him. And the interesting part about it, Simmons is not the passer that St. Eftimov is, right, or some of the other guys who played in this position in this style, spread style offense. I know Herb Sendek doesn't like people to call it the Princeton offense, and it's not. It's a Princeton style. It's got some of the concepts, but many of these things are his innovations. So I hope you hear that, Herb, and I'm not one of those guys on your list that calls it a Princeton offense.
We're tied at 36, and we're at the 32nd mark of the first half. And North Carolina State's going to take a quick timeout. We'll take a break as well. 29.9 remaining first half. We're dead even in Chapel Hill at 36. Back in Chapel Hill, where North Carolina's 7-1 at home. NC State off to a 12-1 start, their best start in 17 years, and we're even. There's a guy that you used to have to bang up against a little bit.
Yeah, just a few times. Big Burrow. You know, one of the toughest players I've ever played against in college, one of the nicest guys I've ever known in the sport of basketball.
NC State trying to play for the last shot. Shot clock is off, the game clock on. They work it around. They get an open three, and it goes. Boy, that's where the timeout that Herb Sendek just called paid off. They got the extra pass. They got it to their best three-point shooter, his first three of the game, but his 32nd of the year, and Ingan knocks it down from the outside to give NC State a three-point lead.
And remember, a couple of possessions ago, Atsur tried to take people off the bounce. That's not his game. This is his game, catch and shoot, at least the offensive side of it. You know, he's a terrific passer. He'll get defenders on his hip, draw defenders, find his teammates. But when it comes time for him to score, you got to set him up, get him in a position where he can catch and shoot. And he's deadly.
Yeah, he is. His last 6 games, he's hit 56% of his three-pointers. NC State's best start, you asked, well, you probably remember that one, the national championship at 30-1. But their last 12-1 was in the Jim Valvano era. Finished 22-9. Right now, they've got a three-point lead. Let's see if Carolina can tie it or cut it to 1 before the break. Final 5 seconds. Thomas on the dribble. Trying to feed it down to Hansbrough. Hansbrough double team. He got the pass off, but they didn't get the shot off, and NC State does a nice job defensively in the final 9 seconds or so. Bethel with 10 points. Most of those have come in the last 2 minutes. Halftime score. Wolfpack on the road, leading the Tar Heels 39-36. Let's join the guys in the studio for the halftime report. Fellas.
Well, thank you very much, Brad. Dave Revson here, joined by Tom Brennan and Doug Gottlieb. You will hear from these guys in just a moment. Do want to get you updated on some other news, though, and actually some interesting NFL draft news coming at you today. And part of it regards the first pick overall, which, of course, belongs to the Houston Texans. And if Reggie Bush does declare for the draft, Houston will pick him number 1. This according to ESPN's Chris Mortensen. League and team sources telling Mort the Texans will go with Bush regardless of whether Houston native Vince Young goes pro. Well, one day after being kicked off of Virginia Tech's team, Marcus Vick declaring for the NFL draft today. Vick booted for off-the-field issues as well as his unsportsmanlike conduct here in the Gator Bowl against Elvis Dumerville of Louisville. Did apologize to Hokies fans in a statement issued today. Bears Lovie Smith, NFL Coach of the Year, narrowly beats out his mentor Tony Dungy of the Colts. Chicago from 5-11 to 11-5 in Smith's second season. Now, coming up on our halftime report, we will check in on a couple of the unbeaten, 6 remaining coming into the day. Illinois and Florida, both going on the road. We will tell you how both those teams did, plus a bloodletting in Lawrence, Kansas. Some stunning highlights coming up.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Suzuki. Introducing the all-new Grand Vitara, the authentic SUV.
NC State, one of the good early season surprises, 7 straight wins, and halfway to their 8th in a row, they lead North Carolina 39-36 at the half. Dave Revson with Tom Brennan and Doug Gottlieb. Let's check in on one of the 6 unbeatens, Illinois at Iowa. D. Brown coming off that 34-point performance against Michigan State. Decidedly worse in this one. He is 1 of 10 at this point. Iowa up 4 at the half. Early second half. Got some guys who can shoot, Doug, including Adam Haluska.
Yeah, Iowa really sharing the basketball well. But, Dave, I think the key is the fact that Illinois has been taken out of what they want to do, transitioning the basketball and elongating those defensive stances, because Iowa is holding that ball, making Illinois play.
Well, they're down by 8. How about one of the other unbeatens? Billy Donovan's crew 13-0 heading into their game at Georgia. Lee Humphrey can shoot it. 5 of 10 from behind the arc. He's over 50% on the year. Then off the block by Corey Brewer. Here comes Joakim Noah. Career high 24 for him, Coach.
I think they really like each other, David. I think that's a big improvement for Florida this year. Guys really get along, moving the ball, and of course the point guard is playing tremendous for them.
They lost 3 great players, about 57% of their scoring. Torian Green, though, picking up the slack. They win it by 18. Let's check in on Kentucky and Kansas. Tubby Smith's team ranked number 21 coming in. I got to think not for long. They did not play well, to say the least, against a very young Jayhawks team. Nice move there by Brandon Rush, and Christian Moody finishes. Kansas on top 46-21. It just got worse. Rush was brilliant, Doug.
Yeah, Rush is really the star of this team. He's starting to step up, and Bill Self has this team playing much better defense. Look at the energy of Russell Robinson, the steal, even with the big 20-point lead. The Jayhawks demolishing the Wildcats.
So 73-46 is the final. That is a 27-point margin. So it does one worse to the margin against Indiana on December the 10th, 26. That had been the worst loss of the Tubby Smith era. These games, you can see kind of mirror images of one another, particularly the shooting behind the arc. It was 2 of 27 last month. It was 3 of 25 today. That is 12%. That is not good. What's up with this team, Doug?
Well, I think most teams this time of year, guys, we talk about an aberration. And the aberration is that one big loss. You know, UConn at Marquette, Texas at home against Tennessee. I think the aberration for this team is the win at home against Louisville. I mean, look, this team is starting to come apart at the seams. This is earlier today. Rondo throws the ball away, has something to say to Joe Crawford. Joe Crawford, they had to be separated by a teammate. This team has major issues. And you look at the SEC, a conference that hasn't performed well out of conference play. The real Kentucky is the team that struggled at home against Central Florida, in Louisville against Iona, and of course was blown out by IU and now KU.
And I think, you have to sit down and say they're not getting what they want. They're not getting the ball inside. They get nothing out of the inside. They can't make threes. Like Jackson Brown said, I don't mean to be cruel, babe, but you're looking confused.
Well, they certainly were looking confused today. They do get Randolph Morris back on Tuesday against Vanderbilt. I mean, is that going to make enough of a difference here, guys?
Well, against Vandy it will, because our boy has the greatest stat of the day.
Yeah, I mean, Vanderbilt hasn't won in Lexington since the Nixon administration. I was -2 at the time, 1974.
How about big picture? How big an impact?
I think big picture, that's their only hope to make the NCAA tournament. Forget the rankings at this time of the year. We're seeing that doesn't mean anything. This is not a good basketball team. They can't shoot the ball. They're playing a guy in Patrick Sparks that is probably playing a level above. I mean, he should be at Western Kentucky. That's the level of player that they have playing as a starting 2 guard. That's the sign of the times to Kentucky.
And in fairness, I mean, this is not a great Kansas team. Right. It was by 27 to Kansas. RPI in the 130s. Only real good win against Cal. You got some issues.
But getting better. Kansas getting better.
They are getting better. They have improved in this last month.
They're going to be tough at the end.
I would agree with that. As we roll on here on our halftime report, we'll take a look at the first true road test for Maryland. Didn't do so well on the test. Maybe we should have studied a little longer. Back on our halftime report, let's check in on the marquee women's game. Number 7, Connecticut going to number 1, Tennessee. Candace Parker, the phenom for Tennessee, through the lane. They're on top 9-4. Ann Strother, though, and UConn answering. 23 points for her on 9 of 19 shooting. Sydney Spencer, Lady Vols go up 1 at 51-50. Now Taisha Fluker inside, off glass. Lady Vols on top by 3. Then more from Tennessee, still a 3-point game. Shauna Zolman behind the arc. Pat Summit going after career win number 897. Her team on top 75-69. You see UConn shooting the ball really well, over 55%, but still down by 6. Let's get back to the men's game. First true road game for Maryland as they went to Miami, and the road was not kind. Robert Height hitting the three. Miami on top 10-0, and Gary Williams not pleased. Calls a timeout. Whatever he said didn't work because these Miami guards really came to play, Coach.
Guillermo Diaz and Robert Height, David, just really living up to expectations today. They're both good players, and that's the first real big win of the year for Miami, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it certainly is. All three of their guards, Anthony Harris, who we saw earlier, banged up earlier in the year. Diaz, who you saw there, Height, who you see right here, they all scored over 20 points in this game. This is what we expected to see from Miami as they win at 84-70. Let's check in on Oklahoma, 14th ranked team in the nation, having to go to Nebraska. Wes Wilkinson comes up with a steal, and that would set up this same possession. Joe McCray, who can really shoot it, does just that. The three-pointer puts Nebraska on top by one. One last chance, Doug, for the Sooners, but Terrell Everett not going to get it to go.
Yeah, and the Sooners had issues at the point guard position. Terrell Everett, 6 turnovers. 5 for 15 from the field, combined 5 of 19 from three-point range. They don't shoot it well, they don't handle it well. With the exception of their interior, Oklahoma, a vastly overrated team.
So Nebraska beats them 59-58. Second half coming up, NC State trying to get the win on the road.
Tune of Not in Our House, but right now NC State in Carolina's house is 36 for North Carolina, 39 North Carolina State. Welcome back, everybody. Just about ready to start the second half. Lenny, nice ebb and flow of the first half. Seems like the team that takes better care of the basketball has had the lead. We've had 2 ties and we've changed leads about 5 times.
Absolutely. It's been pretty good defense. Each one of these teams has gone on a couple of mini runs, but nobody has gotten away from the other. You take a look, it's the three-point shooting that's really helped Carolina, and that's uncharacteristic since NC State has done a nice job this season of keeping people below 30%. But 12 NC State points off of 9 North Carolina turnovers is the key to this game. Carolina's got to take a little bit better care of the ball. And if they do turn it over, they got to get back and defend. There's another turnover almost.
We'll see if the home court advantage will pay off for North Carolina in the second half. They give the ball up right away. As you take a look at the point distribution, Carolina from long range had a dozen, mid-range 2 points, 12 in the paint, and 10 free throws, 10 for 10 from the line. Very similar, really, when you look at the two teams and how they did it. And they only missed 1 free throw, 7 out of 8. Both teams with 4 threes, 4 out of 7 for Carolina, 4 of 11 for NC State. And here comes the Wolfpack now, their first possession with a 3-point lead to open the second half.
And what that last graphic demonstrated, a lost art of the mid-range game. If you're not getting it in the paint, you're shooting beyond the arc. And there's a lot of mid-range opportunities available, but players today just aren't accustomed to taking them.
It was just a slip by Simmons, and he's trying to retie his shoe. He might have to wait a little while as he went down of his own accord, gave it right back to North Carolina. Chance to make it a 1-point game or tie if they can hit a 3. And Ginyard and Thomas in the backcourt to open the second half. Noel throws it away.
David Noel had his mind made up that he was going to feed Terry down low and didn't locate the defender. Another turnover for Carolina.
Eftimov, nice move to get it down to the elbow and then drops it down on the low block to Simmons with a left hand. Short. Boy, it's a slippery spot right there as Carolina just slipped when they got the rebound.
A lot of perspiration dropping on that floor that needs to get wiped up. I don't see anybody going over there with a towel, and that can be dangerous.
Hansbrough is fouled down on the low block. Right in the middle of the opposite lane is where they need to get somebody out there to mop things up a little bit. Right in about that spot is where 2 guys have slipped and gone down already.
And, you know, guys with sweaty bodies hitting that floor, you got to get towels out there to wipe it up.
Hansbrough rips it. 9 points for him, and 7 of those have come from the free throw line. That was a 3rd foul on Simmons, so he sat down about the last 50 seconds of the first half to avoid getting that cheap 3rd, and then he gets it in the first minute and 20 seconds anyway. Hansbrough in double figures. Makes it a 1-point game.
Look at Brackman handle the ball outside. What a luxury to have a 6'10" guy be able to pull the other big man out from the basket and handle the ball, get involved in the spread offense.
Noel on Eftimov. Bethel, who had a big finish to the first half, trying to open the second half the same way. Kept alive. Atzur gave up a 3. They'll work for a better shot.
Talk about luxuries, and Brackman and Grant particularly, two guys that come off the bench. And that's another luxury for Herb Sendek, is he can bring better players off the bench than the other team can match up with on normal occasions.
Fifth-year grad student, Eftimov with his second field goal of the ball game. And North Carolina State back in front by 3 now.
Defense pretty good, forcing Carolina again to reset. This is not the pace Carolina likes to play.
Whistle and a foul, and it's going to be on Bethel.
And just as I say good defense, you turn around and foul the jump shooter. Fortunately for Bethel, it was inside the arc, so it's only 2. But nevertheless, it's just a cardinal error to foul jump shooters, particularly guards who aren't going to block the shots anyway. Get a hand in the guy's face.
Bobby Fraser, only 2 points. He didn't have any points in the win over Davidson, but he did have 5 assists and 4 rebounds. Had 12 assists earlier this season against St. Louis. 6'3" freshman out of Blue Island, Illinois. McDonald's All-American. Got his second of 2. 3 points for him. Makes it a 2-point game. Crowd trying to come to life for the North Carolina defense. Bethel, and he pushes off on Gignard and picks up his second foul of the half, 3rd of the ball game.
Well, you take a look right here. Gignard, that's why he's in the game, because he's a terrific defender. And he was just hugging Bethel closely. Bethel had to use just a little bit of persuasion with that right elbow, but enough that the officials saw.
Now Bethel and Simmons each playing with 3 fouls, actually each on the bench for NC State, but they have 3 fouls.
And as I said, that's why Gignard's in the game. You know, he's not a great shooter, particularly not from beyond the arc, but he's big, he's strong, and he's a good defender. He's one of those guys that's fit into a role and fit in nicely.
There's his jump shot off the mark. Noel trying to keep it alive and loses it on the baseline out of bounds. So North Carolina with an opportunity to tie it there and couldn't. Home court advantage Big Monday on ESPN and ESPN2. Cincinnati and UConn start things off. Then it's Texas and Iowa State. And Gonzaga and Santa Clara on ESPN2 to round things off at midnight Eastern time. That is coming up Monday nights.
Well, the question in a lot of people's minds, particularly in the state of Texas, aside from a national football championship.
That's the only thing on their mind right now.
Whether the Longhorn basketball team has come back. You know, big win over Memphis.
They had those 2 big speed bumps where they got blasted 2 times in a row. Underneath, Grant missed it. Hansbrough trying to get the rebound. Now the big battle, no foul called, and finally there is one called.
Took a while.
Yeah, it did. Brackman just kept hanging in there and moving that ball around. Maryland lost to Miami today by 14, 84-70. Ouch, Lenny.
Hey, the road is no fun.
Yeah,
I don't care who you're playing. You know, it's always in doubt. NC State is understanding that right now, playing against a young, less experienced team, and they've got their hands full.
You saw the other score, Virginia by 6 over Clemson. On a runner, and a whistle and a foul is going to be charged on North Carolina State underneath. And that one will be on Gavin Grant. Here's how the ACC standings look right now. Duke, one of the few remaining unbeatens, of course, at 13-0. They play Wake Forest this weekend in kind of a Big Four situation like it used to be. We've got this one here. They've got that one tomorrow. And then it's NC State next in line at 12-1. Trying to go to 13-1. And Simmons now coming back in with those 3 fouls. Simmons not only retied his shoe, you understand, re-taped his ankle a little bit over there on that sideline when he slipped in the lane.
Yeah, I thought he ran off a little gimpy.
Yeah.
And he's still kind of favoring that ankle. But in the end, you know, I think NC State's got to get some mileage out of Simmons. Look for them to go to him as often as they can.
Tied at 41, only our third tie in the ball game.
Hansbrough doing a nice job of fronting that time, and the pressure on the ball made it difficult for Atzer to lob over Hansbrough to Simmons.
Whistle foul as North Carolina called on Brackman's drive. We got a timeout. 15:54 to play. 41-41 in Chapel Hill.
Dave Revson, our Sports Center in-game studios, and then there were 5. Illinois falling from the ranks of the unbeaten. Mike Henderson, nice floater there, as the Illini get beaten in Iowa City by 15, 63-48. Here's your 5 remaining unbeatens. Florida already won. Ohio State up early on the road at Indiana. Guys?
All right, Dave, so Iowa, the team that handed NC State its only loss this year at Carver Hawkeye by 3 in the ACC Big Ten Challenge with another big win over Illinois. Here, it's North Carolina State trying to go to 13-1, battling with North Carolina for the 207th time, and we're tied at 41 with 15:36 to go in the ball game. Triple team on Simmons, trying to fight his way through, and does. Wow.
Again, perseverance. And NC State trying to get that mileage out of Simmons to the extent that they can, and Simmons delivering. Talk about that unbeaten list. I'm telling you right now, by the end of this month, that list will be empty. There'll be none of them left. Too much parity in this game, and especially playing on the road.
A hop and a long one for Rayshon Terry. And Carolina, 5 minutes into this half, evens it up at 43. Grant, and a foul on Terry. That'll be his third.
NC State's got to recognize the trend that's going on here right now, that if they can get the ball inside, or if they can take off the bounce. You take a look at Simmons. This is when he got hurt, the twisted ankle on the wet spot. And then here, after getting retaped, gave him some stability down low, and he was pretty strong going to the basket.
Grant, tough shot, but got the roll.
But the point I was going to make is that if NC State can get the ball inside, or if they start attacking off the dribble, Carolina seems to be vulnerable. It's when they go side to side once again. They make some mistakes.
Talk about vulnerable. If that's on Simmons, that's 4. That changes their inside completely. There he goes with 4 fouls.
Well, I tell you what it changes. Obviously, Simmons is a terrific post player as he pleads his case one last time. He can score down low for you, so you got a reliable low post score, but you get Brackman in there. Brackman brings something different that is equally as important for NC State. So they just have a different look, but not any less effectiveness.
Miller tried a 3. Frazier got it underneath and scores off the rebound. 45-45. Good job defensively by Miller to hassle Bethel in the backcourt. Eftimov with a hook. He didn't get it that time either. Tried it earlier in the ball game. Carolina chance to lead at the 14-minute mark.
But I like the idea, though. He's just got to practice a little bit more, maybe stop at the point of release and gather himself instead of throwing himself into the basket with that hook.
Noel got an open look. Got a 3. That wasn't the first Noel, but it's sure the one that got the crowd alive. His second three-pointer of the ball game. Point number 12. More importantly, giving his team the lead. How big is the home court advantage? How about the Cameron Crazies at Duke? Is that the best? This place is not bad. It's helping out right now. They lead by 2. Maybe the Izzone and the Breslin Center at Michigan State would be your choice, or Gallagher-Iba at Oklahoma State. Rough Arena in Kentucky. They win 90% of the time there. You can pick your poison. Which college basketball team has the best home court advantage? You can log on to Home Court Advantage, keyword Home Court Advantage on ESPN.com, and vote will reveal the winner Thursday, January 12th during the DePaul Pitt game.
I hope that's a write-in vote. left out a couple, maybe because they're relatively new to the ball game. Comcast Center, Peterson Event Center in Pittsburgh. You know, there are a couple of other schools there, so it should be a write-in.
Allen Fieldhouse, three-pointer goes. For Eftimov. His second of the ball game, and that quiets the crowd and ties us again at 48. This one was an 11-0 North Carolina State lead at the beginning of the ball game, and then Carolina put 7 straight up of their own. And now they've got a 2-point lead on a great look from Noel down to Sanders. I tell you what, those two got something going. Seems like every time Noel's got an assist, it's the number 41.
Well, obviously somebody has pointed out to Noel after the cross of the defender with the screener.
Oh, was that a great look. Just didn't finish for Atsu.
That they're leaving Noel, and they've got to scramble underneath, and Noel unselfish enough to find people.
Miller missed it. Green goes up. Carolina by 4. Green's first basket lights up the place.
And right now, NC State getting beaten where they shouldn't, down low.
Remember, Simmons is out of there. That hasn't helped the cause. There's Brackman missing badly on a hook shot. Carolina pushes it. Cross-courts it. Miller, a triple. He's missed 3 in a row out there.
Much better job of blocking off the glass. You know that happens when the ball can be shot, come off the rim, and then bounce on the floor. You know there's a good blockout situation.
4-point North Carolina lead. 11:40 remaining in the ball game. Grant trying to go up and under. He got the up part, but there wasn't enough under.
Well, Danny Green did a nice job of holding his position defensively. These freshmen are playing like upperclassmen.
Frazier all the way in. Herb Sendick has seen enough. This is what Len was talking about. They might be wet behind the ears, but they know how to play basketball. Here's Frazier first.
Frazier does a nice job just recognizing the floor. There's a lane. He finds it and attacks it. And then talk about the movement. To step out, his man leaves him. Noel has a 3, but he sees a better shot. And unselfishness, that's leadership as much as anything. The unselfishness of David Noel finding and making other people better.
6-point North Carolina lead. And a 12-3 run since that 4th foul by the big guy for NC State.
And I mentioned that with Simmons out and Brackman in his place, it gives NC State a different look. Obviously, it's not the look that they need right now. They need more inside presence. They need somebody who's going to defend the basket. A couple of offensive rebounds, a couple of layups has really hurt NC State. But we mentioned it at the beginning of this second half. This has been a game of mini runs. You know, what you have to do, either team, is make sure that those mini runs don't turn into extended runs.
That stray pass. And North Carolina State caught a break because North Carolina gave it right back to them. Turnover for turnover. 11 minutes, 15 seconds remaining in Chapel Hill. Carolina leading the Wolfpack by 6. Always heavy media coverage when NC State and North Carolina get together. Packed house in the media room at halftime and in the Dean Smith Center, where Roy Williams was a national champion last year. I cannot believe we're 11 days away from the 20th birthday of this building, because I remember doing a game the first year. Seems like yesterday. 18 of the last 19 years, top 5 in attendance, and already it's been the home of the Tar Heels longer than Carmichael was. National champions. Coach Smith with a couple, Coach Williams with the one there in 2005, Brad Nessler and Len Elmore, and we've been here a lot of times. And this is another good one going. Carolina leads the Wolfpack 54-48.
And to talk about love for this program, contributors gave more than $34 million to aid in the building of this place. That's about $14,394 per donor.
There you go. Nice math.
Yeah, I'm assuming that there are a lot more less than the 14,000.
You know, this is the 7th oldest building in the ACC for basketball, which is kind of hard to believe, too, because it seems really like yesterday that it opened. We have not had to concern ourselves too much with shot clocks. Traveling violation on the Wolfpack on Brackman. That's their 11th turnover.
That's a tough move by Brackman at the top to try to spin from the high post instead of turning and facing. You know, once you don't have the passes and you're going to make a move, turn and face your defender, locate him, and get him out of position. That's another way to do it.
Steal by Eftimov, trying to take it coast to coast, and does. Boy, that was a huge play right there, because you saw the shot of Simmons, and I was just going to ask you, when do you bring him back in? We're almost at the midway point of the second half. He's got 4 fouls. But when you get a play like that, that gives you about another minute of padding, I would think, at least, Len, doesn't it, before you have to make a decision as a coach?
Well, absolutely. And again, we talk about the ability inside, and it's going to be up to Brackman whether or not Brackman can hold Hansbrough, at least neutralize him. But Eftimov made a senior play right there, read the play all the way, and driving to the basket does a nice job of getting the defenders out of position with a little hesitation.
So Eftimov got the steal and the basket. He also got the foul on Hansbrough a moment ago. Hansbrough with 11 points. Noel's got 12. Hansbrough right now with 11. And then Terry with 9. They're the leading scorers for North Carolina. Boy, this kid has not missed a free throw, has not played anything like a freshman. I can see why he's been the ACC Freshman of the Week 3 times already. And we're at the midway point of the second half. North Carolina leading North Carolina State on their home floor, 56-50.
And this game is a type of game that brings up the issue of whether you'd like a young team that you can develop as opposed to a senior team that's got a lot of experience, even if the young team has more talent, if you will. And for one season or one game only, I'd go with the experience just about every time, because this game is as mental as it is physical. But in the long run, you certainly want to have the young players that you can develop for continuity.
Of course, you won't know until the second go-around as the 3 goes from Bethel how this game would be going if it was at RBC Center. That is the 3rd 3 for Bethel, 13 points for him. And back to within 3. Hansbrough up and in.
Well, Hansbrough has got that same move now. It's about 3 or 4 consecutive times. He's gone to the baseline and come back with his right hand, held off the defender, and kind of pushes it in. Somebody's going to have to force him another way if they're going to stop him.
Nice hustle on the baseline. And hit the deck hard down there. Terry holding, appears to be his right leg as he went flying out of bounds on that stray ball. This is Home Court Advantage week and Home Court Advantage Tuesday on ESPN and ESPN2, first at 7:30 Eastern. North Carolina takes on Virginia Tech. Lenny will be there at 9 o'clock. I'll be at Rupp Arena in Lexington. Number 21, Kentucky, taking on Vanderbilt. Super Tuesday presented by Lexus is part of Home Court Advantage on ESPN and ESPN2 this Tuesday night. If you missed the hustle by Rayshon Terry on the baseline, here's another look as he dives for this pass, and boom.
Comes right down on that left knee pretty hard.
One of those when you know you made a good play, it doesn't hurt so bad until you roll over and then you realize what you just did. So he's going to get a little time on the bench to recuperate. Eftimov, fade away, 3. Nope, it's just inside the 3-point line.
But you can tell that's a timing play right there. Very well executed to get Eftimov back, but nobody back on defense for NC State. And for a team that's among the leaders in points allowed, certainly number 1 in the ACC with 58 points per game, that's a no-no.
Nice hustle by Miller defensively.
The official signal for NC State. And now Roy Williams is asking the other officials to chip in.
Carl Hess had made the call right in front of us.
That looked like it did come off of Bennerman's foot. Or Bethel's foot.
Eftimov, Vanat Sewer playing catch out on top. Bennerman, Brackman, and Grant, the other 3 on the floor for NC State. This is Grant trying to back in. Short-armed it a little bit, was looking for a foul call, didn't get it.
I'll tell you what, Danny Green did a great job of pushing Grant out before he got the ball.
NC State comes right back with a steal, and shooting foul coming up. Foul is on Miller.
Yeah, Bennerman was definitely, he had already picked up the ball and started his motion to the basket when he was tripped up. So good call by the official in the act of shooting. But the point I was making about Danny Green was that he kept nudging Grant out further and further from the basket, so when Grant finally received, it made it that much more difficult for him to get in the shooting range, and we saw the result of that. And once again, a freshman on, albeit a sophomore, but the freshman using some experience gets the better of it.
Bennerman is almost at 90% on his free throw shooting. He's 24 of 27 as Frazier comes back in and Thomas goes out. So if you're going to foul somebody, this is a guy to stay away from at all costs if you can. 6'4" senior out of Greensboro. Roomed with Trent Strickland of Wake Forest when they were at Hargrave Military Academy together. And he's got that nice smooth motion, knocks down both free throws, only 6 points, but those are 2 big ones there to bring NC State back to within 3.
And Bennerman's one of those guys that should come alive in a game like this, the most athletic player, and he's played his best games against athletic teams like Miami and George Washington.
Well, you know, his first basket was that slam dunk he threw down from taken off about 12 feet from the basket, but he's been pretty quiet since. And there you see the play and the fundamentals of the jumper off the glass by Frazier. 7 of his 9 points have come in this half. Eftimov, nice spin to the basket, but he lost the handle. Still NC State ball, the officials say. Crowd doesn't like that call on the baseline.
Here's where the home court advantage comes into play. This crowd descending on the officials.
May not help right now, but it might help later. You never know. 7:39 remaining. 5-point Carolina lead.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
Memorial Hall, the North Carolina campus, built in 1931, 75 years later, now has had a complete renovation. The grand opening was Tony Bennett, who I'm sure left part of his heart in that building before he left town. We've got our heart in the Dean Smith Center. Brad Nessler and Len Elmore here in Chapel Hill on home court advantage week, where NC State jumped out to the huge lead early. They're trying to go to 2-0 in the conference and 13-1 overall, but right now that is all in jeopardy because North Carolina just kept hanging in and battling back, and now the young Tar Heels on their home floor lead by 5 with 7:39 remaining in the ball game.
Absolutely. We've got a passion play going here with a highly ranked, very experienced team, as you mentioned, on the home floor of young up-and-comers who are trying to prove themselves.
Nice defense. I think it was Green that got a hand on that jump shot, but then afterwards, Hansbrough picks up the foul. That's his 3rd.
Maybe a little experience as well. You've got to see a good defensive play coming before you make that kind of contact, and Hansbrough just tried to run him out. Take a look right here. State not to the line too often here in the second half.
Brackman is 1 for 1 from the free throw line, 67% free throw shooter, and he missed it, and Noel's got another rebound. So another opportunity for North Carolina State to close the gap. Goes by the boards. Miller trying to feed down to Green low, and big-time hustle defensively by Atzur, but he hit the baseline, and he'll be out of bounds, so it'll be North Carolina ball.
And Roy Williams on the side kind of gave a real exaggerated post-up move with an anguished look on his face, telling his guys to get lower, get stronger when that ball is entered down in the post to prevent the defender from getting around him. On that move, Roy looked like he probably could have posted up a couple times.
They have to bring it back out on top to Miller. He goes right back in to Hansbrough, who faces up on Brackman and then backs away. Carolina looking to use a little bit of clock and get a good shot at the same time. Under 10 on the shot clock. Frazier on a runner. Wow, what kind of second half offensively has this young guy had?
Well, again, he's doing a terrific job of recognizing driving lanes on the floor. The more he handles it, the more his guys move without it, the more they create opportunities for him off the bounce.
9 of his 11 have come in this half. Brackman found a little alleyway. His first field goal of the second half.
And again, it's the movement without the ball that's creating, as you mentioned, Brad, those alleyways for both teams. Fraser doing a much better job of recognizing them than NC State, who looks to want to settle for the jumper or get it deep in the post.
Green, nice job defensively by Bennerman. Noel, the bounce pass down low and nobody home. Carolina turns it over.
Now look at Roy Williams. Now that's what he means by setting up, get low, get strong inside. And the last time we were here when Carolina played St. Louis back in December, Roy Williams had a back so bad he had to sit on a special chair to take the pressure off.
He looked like the Hulk there.
I was going to say, I guess he's been lifting or something. He's gotten a lot better. He's telling his guys, play big.
We asked when Cedric Simmons would come back. It took about 8 minutes. He's back on the floor. Playing with 4 fouls, number 33 in red. Here he is handling it offensively. Under 6 minutes, wide open, Eftimov for 3, and he got it.
Now that is a result of the driving lanes. That time, Noel decided to stay in the paint and prevent Bethel's drive, and that leaves a wide open Eftimov.
Game's down to 2 with 5:45 to go. Miller kicks out Noel, the extra pass. Terry's doubled on the baseline. Now it's Fraser. It's been Fraser's second half. The freshman hits a 3. (67-62). Taking that Eftimov shot right back. Fraser deep in the baseline on the right side. Didn't have a field goal in the first half. He's got 5 in the second half. Now it's Atsua for 3, and he got it.
And that's the kind of play that might make a coach scratch his head. Bennerman, with his leaping ability, right under the basket, kicks it back outside from a 70-80% shot.
Noel rejected by Simmons. That's where he pays off down low. Opportunity for NC State to tie or lead. Eftimov thought about it. Noel got out on him, but he feeds down low. Bennerman now, Bethel baseline. Too strong.
Again, Bennerman under the basket, kicking it outside. The guys shooting threes. And obviously you can tell NC State much more comfortable beyond the arc than having their guys underneath the basket, all but Simmons.
Noel for 3 is short. And the rebound comes off to NC State, and then to add to the missed shot, Noel picks up the foul as well. Wow, up and down the court here in the last couple of minutes.
And you talk about up and down, driving lanes are open if you recognize. Carolina recognizes that Eftimov is in the corner. Noel stays here instead of going out to get his man, trying to cut off the drive instead of playing his man, and Eftimov made him pay for it. On the other end, NC State hasn't taken away the driving lanes from Fraser, and Fraser getting it done.
So we see now that Atsua goes to the free throw line where he's hit his last 2. North Carolina under Roy Williams, 15-10 against ranked opponents. They're playing against the number 12 team in the country, and they just got a break, and that a good free throw shooter missed one from the line. 4:15 left in Chapel Hill at the Dean Smith Center. Seesaw battle back and forth between Carolina and North Carolina State in this 217th meeting that goes back 93 years. Approaching 4 minutes.
Here's where you got to play honest right now. You only double the post.
They did, and it paid off. Came up with a steal.
Play the perimeter guys honest. When it goes into Hansbrough, you got to double him.
Three-pointer won't go. Who's going to get the rebound? Last touched by North Carolina, I believe. So North Carolina State's going to have the ball when we come back. 3:47 remaining in regulation. 25th ranked North Carolina clinging now to a 2-point lead over the 12th ranked Wolfpack.
Dave Revson in our SportsCenter in-game studios. UConn coming off that loss to Marquette, hosting LSU. Glenn Davis in the paint makes it 37-30 right now in favor of LSU. So winning on the road. Speaking of which, look at what Ohio State is doing at Indiana. Unbeaten Buckeyes on top by 13 late in the first. Brad.
All right, Dave, 3:47 left here, and although this is not the Big Four like it used to be when they played a doubleheader in the same spot, Wake plays Duke tomorrow. We're finding out who's going to be at least take a little bit of an edge here in North Carolina. I don't know. Is it going to be North Carolina, North Carolina State?
I don't know. It's always a bunch of fun when you come down here and have all four of those teams play, particularly if you're a Carolina native. But judging from that blue shirt, man, I mean, you got two teams you can root for.
That's right. And Frazier scores again. 16 for Frazier. Carolina by 4.
You can feel comfortable in any Carolina or Duke environment right now.
You just made me a whole bunch of enemies.
No, I know you. I know you didn't have that in mind.
Not at all. Foul down low, and that's going to be Bennerman.
I mean, that's a TV shirt right here.
That's
like
all
me,
that is.
I made sure that I wasn't jumping on anybody's
good choice. I've had so many football games lately, I forgot what I was packing for, but I'll remember that next time for the folks in Raleigh. At the free throw line is Bennerman. And he's got it. 3 straight free throws in this half. Frazier, boy, what a second half this kid's had. And that's not to say he didn't play well in the first half, but it was more as a floor leader and not as a scorer. Hasn't missed a shot in the second half, and then except one free throw.
I was going to say, they haven't all been layups. He's gotten a few off the bounce, good penetration, but he's hit a couple of jumpers as well. And he's just finding open spots and making it happen.
And having the guts to take it. Here's a steal, possibility to tie the game. Bennerman with a left hand. Man. What a shot that was.
Hung in the air like he just didn't care. And we said he's the best athlete on this team. Boy, can you imagine if he asserted himself the full time he was out there, asserted that athleticism.
Switched hands in midair, knocked it off the glass to tie the game and quiet the crowd. 7th tie of the ball game. And we're down to 2:45. Now, can the youth handle it? Can they come back and regain the lead? This guy's the veteran of the group, or at least one of the very few. Noel, the bounce pass to Hansbrough.
You know, you not only have to be good, but sometimes you have to be lucky. And on a fumbled play right there, an opportunity created, and Carolina didn't fail to capitalize.
Atzur spinning in the lane. Did he get away with a walk? It doesn't matter. Carolina takes the ball away.
State doesn't have to foul. They just got to get back and play defense right there, perilously close to fouling and putting Carolina on the line for an easy one.
Under 2 minutes. Frazier. Baseline jumper, airballed it. And let's see, there's going to be a back-end foul trying to get the rebound as Hansbrough had good position, and he got undercut by Bennerman.
Right there was the fumble by Noel. He recovers and then finds Hansbrough waiting. And Roy is just posting up again.
I'm telling you what, that squat and clean and jerk and everything for the coach he's got working it. His back hurts. We got a scoop, I think. Either that or he just forgot about it because he's so into the game. Hansbrough knocks down the front half of the one-on-one.
Well, he recognizes, again, he continues to reward the behavior he wants. He's got his young players playing fearlessly right now.
Hansbrough's 11 for 11, make it 12 for 12 from the free throw line.
And you just saw that graphic right there, how the freshmen have pretty much led this team throughout the season.
They're growing up fast. This will get them more and more mature as the ACC season will kick in. It has today, trying to win their first conference game. Take you back to Bennerman, though, on that steal and the drive. Watch this.
Well, again, Bennerman, we talk about his athleticism. He sees Frazier has cut off the pass, but he's got the ability to get up high, hang in the air, and then on the switch hands. Now, remember, there are several plays when Bennerman got the ball in the post and he kicked it back outside for threes. One they made, one they missed. But I've never been a fan of that. A guy with his leaping ability should be able to convert and get on the line.
His first field goal of the ball game, he missed it early in the game. He took off from about the elbow and threw a slam dunk down. And he showed his hang time on that last one. North Carolina Only one missed free throw, and as I mentioned, Hansbrough has not missed. 12 for 12. You get a freshman that's 6'10" to play and shoot like that in a big game like this. I don't know if he's even a freshman anymore, even though it still says FR next to his name. There's a steal by another freshman. Frazier. Hansbrough underneath. And he's going back to the free throw line.
And we talked about the value of experience and how NC State has 3 seniors and a junior. And in crunch time, you rely on that experience. But that was just a bad pass by Evtimov, who couldn't bring it back. He knew he wanted to bring it back. He was trying to get it inside to Etzer, had posted Frazier up, but Etzer changed position. And Evtimov let it go anyway. And that bad pass turns into points for Carolina.
You know who might be a 4-time ACC Rookie of the Week by this time next week? Take a look at number 50. Hasn't missed a free throw. Still hasn't missed a free throw. 20 points for Hansbrough.
Now, if you're talking about freshman of the week, I'm not going to take anything away from Hansbrough's play, but I think number 4 in white.
That's what I was looking at. He might be co-player with his teammate. It's not over yet, but we're under a minute and a half. Brackman missed. Nice defensive job by Carolina to go up and take a swipe at the ball, and they've got the ball back. This wasn't a bad drive by Brackman, but watch the defense.
Well, again, and he threw it up high off the glass. Brackman's got to learn how to go strong to the basket. Well, that was a kind of a touch on that one.
Now to the free throw line, where Carolina has been near perfect. Came in only averaging 65.7% from the free throw line, coming off a game where they hit 19 of 30, and now they have only missed 1 of 23 today. You win a lot of ball games that way, partner.
That's right. You get the right people on the line to get you started. Good free throw shooting becomes contagious.
This could match North Carolina's biggest lead of the ball game if Terry hits it, and he does. Up 8 with 1:20 left. Herb Sendek wants to talk about it. The fans want to cheer about it in Chapel Hill. Home court advantage might pay off for the Tar Heels today. We'll have a final result in about 1 minute and 20 seconds, but we'll remind you it's home court advantage Big Monday on ESPN and ESPN2. 3 great games starting at 7 Eastern time as number 2 UConn will take on Cincinnati. Then at 9, it's Texas and Iowa State. Both ESPN games available on ESPN HD. And then at midnight Eastern on ESPN2, Adam Morrison, leading scorer in the country, takes his Gonzaga team to take on Santa Clara. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Each team with 2 timeouts. You see the foul situation. Carolina leads by 11, and they've got the possession arrow as well. They've scored 8 straight points in the last minute and 12 seconds. And now time is running out on the Wolfpack, who are off to their best start in 17 years. But it might be 12-2 unless they can find a way to score and score every time they touch it. That shot was partially blocked by Frazier, and Carolina's got it back as we work our way down to a minute.
Herb Sendek's telling his team to foul.
And they do. The only problem being, if they keep shooting free throws like they've been shooting free throws, it isn't going to matter.
Well, that was a puzzling play coming out of that huddle, simply because I would expect them to look at what was successful. I'm talking about NC State. What was successful during their mini runs where they could take the lead? That was spreading the floor, allowing their big guys to roam inside, trying to find a way to get it into them and take the double and kick it back outside for a better shot. That time trying to take them off the bounce, that just doesn't work. Not against a keyed-up defense like Carolina. You got to make them shift. You got to make them adjust.
Simmons goes out, and Grant comes back in. Simmons with, you can see, a limp in his gait. The only missed free throw of the entire game is by the guy on the line, and yet he is 4 for 5 and missed another one. Down under a minute.
They got to go inside out, get somebody in, kick it back outside. Carolina will double, but right now, one guy trying to do it all doesn't work.
Trying to go up and put it back in. Terry clears it out of there. Here's a long ball to Noel. Good night. And it looks like youth is about to be served as they got it down to the old guy of the group.
Youthful enthusiasm right there as everybody up off the bench. For most of these guys, we talk about the freshmen, their first ACC victory.
And their first taste of it, and they're liking it right now. It makes the rest of the weekend pretty sweet. They just keep knocking down free throws. Miller comes in. Hansbrough's going to go out to a standing ovation. You can be guaranteed of that. North Carolina trailed at the beginning of this game 11-0. They battled back to trail by only 3 at halftime, and now all those young players in that 25th national ranking, it's looking like it's going to move up as they're about to win at home on our home court advantage week. 34 seconds and change remaining with Len Elmore and our ESPN2 crew. I'm Brad Nessler. This has been a fun way to start the Atlantic Coast Conference for North Carolina. For NC State, it appears they're going to drop to 1-1. And right now, North Carolina is the strongest man on the court, but strongest man competition is coming up following us. Game was tied at 69, and Carolina has ripped off 13 straight. They might add to it right here. They lose the ball. Back to the Wolfpack. Looking for a three-pointer, North Carolina State. Instead, they get a turnover. Kind of been the story of their second half.
It certainly has, and again, it's been the experienced players, and sometimes the experience works against you because you know the impact. Sometimes you can be so young and inexperienced that you don't know what you're in.
Well, a packed house knows what they've got now. These young guys, they're growing up week by week. And in the 207th meeting between these two teams that goes back to 1912, it's North Carolina. 13 straight points in the last 2 minutes. Roy Williams is 35-3 in this building since taking over as head coach. And the final score, North Carolina at home, 82. North Carolina State, 69. What a ball game, and what a way to get conference basketball going. 82-69 is the final. That's going to do it for us. Stay tuned for the World's Strongest Man competition. That's coming up from China. And on ESPN News, our post-game extra will be along momentarily. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. North Carolina on their home floor wins it 82-69. Great balance, great maturity by a lot of young players, and they win it at home by 13. For Len Elmore and our ESPN2 crew, Brad Nessler, so long from Chapel Hill.